This is the Nassaumen Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella.
All right, and welcome back to the Nassaumen Hockey Podcast. James Nichols and John Zella here. As always, what's going on, pal?
Not a whole lot.
Literally
sleepy
not
time.
a whole lot.
Not a
It's
whole
like-
lot. Sleepy time. I feel we're not watching a lot of Islanders hockey. It's been feel like forever.
I feel like we're watching a
And-
ton of hockey, just not the Islanders.
That's also true. But then we're still doing this every week, but it felt like a really long week in between.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting like a little worried. Like we're doing the newsletter with Isles Fix, and we're like luckily there's like different things, and there's been some things to talk about from the team in practice, and Barry Trotz has been really good with the media, kind of giving us little bites here and there, and the unfortunate situation in Chicago, and then the Islanders call with that. Like there's kind of been enough to talk about and chew on.
Piece together.
Yeah, I think the problem is between now and like there's 3 games and they have another 4 days off.
Yeah, it's so tough.
And that was like that was my question kind of like going into this episode, and we started to talk about it, and I stopped us before because we tend to do that before we hit record. Was too much made of this road trip?
What do you mean by that?
I think there was a lot
Elaborate.
of, I think from outside of the team, not that the team would let us know anyway, but outside of the team, from the fans and the media, it was all about, I mean, we even did it. We wrote about it in Niles Fix. I wrote it,
Sure.
Hockey, right? Like we've all kind of done it. And I think we thought it was going to be a problem. Like the 13 game road trip was going to be a problem. They can't start playing at home until November. Was too much made of it? Like I don't think that they're home a lot. They're just not.
Yeah, I guess
not
that's a good
playing
point.
at home. There's so much time for them. They're practicing in their own rink. It's not like they've been on the West Coast and in Canada and working their way back east over there. No, they've been at home.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's still not a problem to be playing on the road, and maybe that's part of it, and not being able to play at home and all that kind of stuff. But they're playing it. They're practicing at Northwell. They're big chunks of time where they're actually able to get off and be home with their families. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we all made a little bit too much of this. Like
Yeah,
they're not
I think
playing
you.
well, which is a different problem. But I don't think it has anything to do with the road trip.
I think you bring up a good point. You could argue it's harder to be on the road for 6 games and away from your family for 2 weeks than to really be doing what they're doing right now, right? Because they're on the road for what was 6 games, but then they came home and they've been home, and then they played another game, and then they're back home again, and like quickly it was like 1 game and now you're back.
Yeah,
So
I'd
it's
say
like-
that it's not the road trip itself so much as the schedule.
Yeah.
That you could easily replace 13 game road trip with long stretches not playing games, and
Yeah.
you wind up in the same point, right? Like that may be what's tripping them up a little bit. That lack of consistency playing in games or whatever. I don't think it's the road trip, the 13 games that's in the problem. It's these 3 and 5 day stretches between games
Mhm.
that we've seen trip up a lot of teams. Long
Yeah.
breaks and this thing and that thing. Like that seems to be a bigger problem to me than the road trip itself.
I guess the one thing you could argue is, although they're not playing consistent games, they're consistently not playing in front of their own fans, which I guess could be kind of tough to do for 13 straight games, even though it's broken up as much as it is. Just because it's like, okay, when are we gonna feel the home? Yeah, the players feel the home field advantage.
Oh, I'm not saying
And-
that that's not an issue. I'm saying
No, I know.
it's overblown a little bit. Like they get to, it's not like they at least have half of it. Like, again, they get to be home, practice at
Yeah.
home, things like they have some time off. Again, I think the time off is a little more detrimental to their game than
Right.
not playing in front of their fans. But like, I think we didn't look at enough of the minutia of it all. Instead of like, it was like, all right, so there's time off, there's not playing at home a little bit, there's traveling, the stress of kind of doing that, especially people with families, because then you are on the road and then you're going right home. That must be a little stressful, especially if you have
Yeah.
younger children. Like I understand, like there's a lot of that, but we all kind of just put this. It's the road trip, I didn't see like a breakdown really from anybody, again, including us.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, it's all these little things that will add up to be maybe a slow start. They were just like the road trip itself. And I didn't look at
Yeah.
the schedule that closely. So like I assumed everything was really close and they were just
Yeah.
like pounding out games left and right. But yeah, we're talking about one game between last episode and this episode, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Like
no, it's been
that's
one
which is
game,
crazy.
and then, this week there's one game on Thursday night, and then when's the next one
Back to
after
back.
that? Saturday, Sunday, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, next week we'll have a lot more to talk about. But then after the back-to-back, it's like 4 days off. And it's like another lull, but you know, this is the circumstances they're under right now because the construction of the arena. So,
Yeah.
um it's just temporary. Things will stabilize soon.
Yeah. And that
Uh,
was part of like one of the storylines which we saw partly solved um last Saturday was whether Sorokin or Varlamov was gonna get time.
yeah.
Um I'll pat myself on the back and be proud of the fact that exactly what I said is what Trotz wound up saying is the reason, which was it'd be way too much time off for Sorokin
Yeah,
with a
he
guy
did
like
say
Varlamov by
exactly that.
and Varlamov hasn't played yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if, by next Thursday, what's one day in between those games, maybe you get
Right.
Varlamov in the game next week and go on Thursday and then go from there for the weekend.
Yeah.
One guy's gonna play two games in 4 days. He's got to decide who that is. How's Varlamov look on that first game? If that's who he chooses to go with, which again I imagine is fine because then Sorokin's going to play 2 days later. It's not at that point; it's 2 day difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, that storyline, I guess continues a little bit, but it's not as big of a deal who he chooses next week.
Yeah. And with that, let's actually talk about the Islanders and Predators game that seems like now forever ago. It's right. It's been how many days now? But Sorokin continued to shine in that game, man. He had a really good game. Probably, I mean, the team as a whole deserved to win, right? That was a game that they outshot, outplayed, and did everything right against the Predators, including 2 power play goals, which we'll talk about. But they didn't have what we'll talk about later, that ability to just finish the game, close the door. But regardless, Sorokin was really good, and that was good to see because there was a couple days off between his back-to-back shutouts, and it was good to see that there was no lag for him, right? It was
No, he
just
looks great. I
same
love
old Ilya Sorokin.
his athleticism is exciting.
Yeah,
I
it's off
think
the
I've said it
charts.
plenty of times on the show that I think if I'm Barry Trotz or maybe one of these, Pierre Greco or Mitch Korn, it's a little nerve wracking watching him do that because Varlamov is very kind of collected in the net. There's not a lot of exaggerated movements, and then you have somebody that plays a more athletic style in Sorokin. It must make them a little nervous that he gets out of position or something like that. Like he's making it in his necessary saves. There were a couple opportunities where he comes sliding over. The puck's hitting him like in the
Yeah,
middle of the pad. It's not like it's hitting
yeah.
his toe and he's getting lucky. Like he's getting over in more than enough time.
I have to say
But it's a little nerve-wracking.
his positioning's been very good, and although he's making those athletic saves, there's a certain calmness to him and his game that although he's like sprawling out for these saves, it doesn't seem like he's overexerting himself. Where
No,
it's
he
like a
looks like you were having fun playing street hockey.
yeah, that's a good way to
And
put it.
I think that's what you want to see, right? Like you want to
Yeah, of
see him
course.
having fun and making those saves how he wants to play. I don't think they didn't try to change how he played. They
No,
just honed in, being a little bit more positional
right,
at times or whatever, just getting up to NHL speed and working on those
right.
little things that neither of us could ever tell. We'd
It
need
wasn't his style that they had to work on. It was his, like you just said, his positioning in net.
well, it's substance. Like things like I was just saying, it's things that will, unless we were a professional goalie, we'll never know what they actually worked on. Like there's those little things that make NHL goalies good.
Yeah.
And that's we wouldn't be able to look at tape and be like, oh wow, he got so much better at more than just like, oh, he's just in position, he's making more saves. Like I don't know how to dissect it further than
We could
that.
say that about the raw things, right? Like his lateral movement, his which stance he uses and stuff like that. And again, I'll say for a third time, positioning, right? Because there's a significant difference between where he stood at the beginning of last season in his crease versus this year. Like now he's standing at the top of his crease and he's challenging shooters.
Yeah.
Right. And last year, because he was so used to doing this in the KHL with a bigger space of ice to play on, he could play a little bit deeper in his net. But now, because the ice is smaller and let's face it, the skill's better in the NHL than it is in the KHL, he's challenging and he's showing less net.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's almost a double whammy for his opponents because prior he was showing more net and was able to take away that space with his athleticism. Now he's showing less net and has that same athletic ability to make those saves. So it's like now it's even harder to score on him. Whereas you already thought like this guy is unbelievable. He's an unbelievable goaltender and we're getting him. This is great. And now he's that much better coming to the NHL.
Yeah, his numbers are just ridiculous this season. To start the years with just 7 games, but the Islanders haven't completely been themselves.
No.
So I think it's good to have that rock in there. It must feel really good to know. I think the players weren't playing different in front of either Varlamov or Sorokin, but now they can be really sure that they don't need to, right? Like it's absolutely no question. Nobody should be worried about who's playing what game. The only question is around playoff time, and that's plenty far away where we don't need to have it on our mind. Just as long as the boys get rolling, we're good to go.
Before we move on to the next portion of this segment, would you say that was their best game of the season, the Islanders?
I don't think they've played the best game of their season yet. Yeah, I think they looked very
thus
much
far. That was the best game that they've played thus far of the 7.
They're starting to, I think, with every passing game, they're looking a little bit more like themselves.
I would agree.
So yeah, I think that's about as far as I don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say maybe it was getting close to their
point. Your point is well taken. And Trotz said it himself. I think it was 2 post games ago. We have another level. We're not there yet. We have another level to our game, and we're just really nipping at the heels of what we can be.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, and I don't know if that I brought it up. Maybe I guess we wouldn't have had time because it came out on the 28th. Dom Lucian with the Athletic had an article. Relax, everybody. These teams will be fine. Strangely enough, it's funny how this works, right? Going back to the preseason, maybe over the summer, everyone's picking the Islanders to win the cup, blah blah blah. Now, nothing, literally, absolutely nothing from, despite five straight games with points, back-to-back outside of the back-to-back shutouts, nothing about the Islanders. Didn't make it into this article, and it was about slow starts. That a lot of these really good teams, or quote good teams, I don't know, the Maple Leafs. I don't really know how you do it and put them as a really good team. I just whatever different show, I suppose. You can go listen to Dangle for more hot takes on the Leafs, I guess. But like they're saying all these these good teams have slow starts and they usually make up for it and blah blah blah. Like here are the reasons to worry. Nothing about the Islanders. I even did like a control F and I found the Islanders aren't even mentioned in the article until the comment section. And and then even that was like irrelevant. And it was like something about Doug Weight. I was like, okay.
Right.
So it's interesting that like Islanders have just fallen off the radar, which is fine, right? Like they don't care.
I think people are tired of writing about the Islanders, and whatever they write, the exact opposite happens. So like, you know what? Let's just leave them out of it because I've swung and missed so many times.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like, I'm not betting against them. It's not even worth it. I don't think anyone made a bet
on them because then they won't. It's just
you can't just don't make a bet for or against. Just like skip that game.
Yeah.
Whenever you have 82 games, just skip the bets.
Everybody just pretend they're not here, please.
Yes, and I think they would likely prefer that. I think being not the stepchild of the Rangers or necessarily or in their shadow or something like that, but they're not the big city team. They're Long Island's team. As
I
long as
agree.
Islander fans and stuff like that are engaged, and I think I made a comment through our account the other day about how the Islanders were promoting um the Islanders meetup groups around the country.
Yeah.
That to me, and we just made on a total tangent here, but that to me was, I think, really important. It was just indicative of where this franchise continues to be despite the owner changes and all the things since before the Stanley Cup years through the early 90s and kind of the downfall to through the Fishermen and span like the team kind of remains Long Island's team. Um so I think I thought that was really cool that the owners did that, but I think it just speaks volumes to like this franchise has very solid values.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think they care if people are talking about them in New York City or in Toronto or Chicago. It doesn't matter. The Islanders are happy as long as their fans are happy, and that's the little group that they're just communicating with.
Yeah. No, totally agree. But let's talk bat hockey again.
We'll get
Um,
back to it. We got to
so
stretch
bat-
some stuff here. We don't have a whole lot. There's hockey adjacent.
Yeah, true. Back to the Islanders Predators matchup though. The power play looked pretty good. 2 for 3, which is when was
Unheard of.
when was the last time you saw 2 power play goals in a single game for the Islanders?
Not that were both scored by them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's for sure.
But that second goal came from none other than Oliver Wahlstrom. And oh my god. That was a heck of a shot, man. What was what was your initial reaction? Because I'll tell you mine after.
Oh, I mean, just even just watching the replay, I was like, "Yep, that's just what he's gonna do now." Like, I'm excited for him. 4 goals in 7 games is freaking ridiculous. He's shooting 20%, 21%,
He's on a
which is like not
46 goal.
sustainable.
He's on a 46 goal pace.
Yeah.
Is it not sustainable?
20% shooting over?
I think that he's going to regress. Obviously, I predicted Wahlstrom to have 30 goals. He's on a 46 goal pace right now. But would I be surprised if he hit 35, 37? No, I really wouldn't be surprised if he hit that many goals. And eventually, could he hit 40s? Maybe low 40s, above 40? I think so. I think he could do it. But yeah, Wahlstrom, that shot, it was my initial reaction. I hadn't seen a shot with that much authority from the Islanders since what? I don't even. Who am I even going to say right now? When was the last time we had a sniper like this?
I mean, Barzal definitely has that ability at times, but he's a lot more finesse than Wahlstrom. Wahlstrom
Right.
is very north-south.
Right.
I'm not in any way comparing him to Ovechkin, but just that kind of like to the net, shoot the puck,
Right.
Through the goalie kind of thing.
I agree.
The name will offend players a little bit. Like Tavares had that ability.
That was who I was thinking too. The last person we probably saw shoot the puck like that was probably Tavares.
Yeah, where
it's been 3 years.
And yeah, he's been he was the hybrid really between a Wahlstrom and a Barzal, right? Like he had the ability to have the finesse, which is why he's a good hockey player. He still is a good hockey player.
Sure.
But that was why what made him really good, especially as a center, is that he could do both. He could find his way, snake his way through defenders, and also snipe.
Yeah.
So which is, Barzal's starting to get that. He is starting to add that. I mean, he's shooting at 13%. He only has a few more shots than Wahlstrom. He has 3 goals in 7 games. That's nothing to we shouldn't forget that at all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's on his hottest start probably in his career as far as goals are concerned. I don't know about points necessarily, but yeah, I think that's really important. I think so. Thinking about it, had you gone first, my thought about Wahlstrom in that particular goal is Tarasenko who?
Good point.
And you know
Good
what?
point.
And I say that having, as I do right before the show, typically just to make sure I'm getting every last bit of craziness from Twitter. Just scrolling through the hashtag on my tweet deck, and I saw somebody saying, "Oh, Islanders slow start. They should have picked up Tarasenko." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, you're just not watching the games.
Right.
That's not even the problem right now. No one would have thought goal scoring wouldn't be the Islanders' problem during the season or any season. That's not necessarily the issue.
Right.
Again, and we still haven't really gotten to it. Yeah, we keep teasing it like idiots, but we'll eventually talk about that because I have longer thoughts on it. But yeah, goal scoring is not having a Tarasenko is not the issue.
And don't get me wrong, Tarasenko, if you've kept up, is playing well. He's got 4 goals, 5 assists in 7 games.
Yeah, St. Louis is also playing like absolute crazy people right now and leading the division. And
Agree.
the Islanders have not even hit. They're not even at the high end of the rev range on second gear.
Right.
Like
on the flip side, Oliver Wahlstrom has scored just as many goals as Vladimir Tarasenko has. So, and at the $8 million cheaper per year cost.
oh my god! All right, so let me just say I'm really happy you brought that up because I'm gonna bring up this tweet. Hope I didn't lose it about the cost of a bunch of these players. Oh my god! All right, I have to pull it up. So continue. I'll interrupt you in a second.
You pull it up, but Wahlstrom looks really good for power play too. I'd argue that the second unit actually looks a little bit better than the first unit. But then the first unit pulls off a tic-tac-toe goal like they did on the first goal in that game, where Beauvillier finished off a beautiful sequence between Barzal, Beauvillier, and Josh Bailey. That was a very nice goal as well, and it would be great to see that continue from Beauvillier. I think he's the trigger man on that unit, right? Barzal's the playmaker. Bailey's the distributor, and I think Beauvillier is the finisher there. So
I do like since Bailey has been on the first power play and watching that pass from Barzal to Bailey to Beauvillier. I like that a lot because Bailey is the passer, and if that line needs that. They have a guy in front of the net. They have 2 guys that can shoot. They needed someone to dish.
yeah,
They needed someone truly to be the passer. I like Bailey there, which means he's probably going to have a lot of success in the first line. Heck, he's leading the team
he is.
in scoring altogether.
Yeah,
Still finding, still found the back of the net.
5 points.
Yeah, so it's good to see that. So I think it's working out, and that's probably why he's on that first power play unit. And then that second unit's really good too because you have a Wahlstrom there. You have Parise, which is a slightly different version of a Lee, maybe causing havoc in front of the net. So I think those power play units are really balanced, and you saw each one score a goal. So that's
Right.
That's really good too. It wasn't one unit scoring both goals, right?
Yep.
That would have been even more surprising. But the fact that each one scored a goal, and it's, I think I said this last episode or one of these episodes, is the Islanders, it's very balanced. The scoring right now throughout the lineup is fairly balanced, save for probably the fourth line. And really Zach Parise, who remains pointless in 7 games.
Despite playing very well.
Yeah, and I'll say it all season long. His role is to stay out of our mouth. All we need to say is, oh yeah, he played really well.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally all we need to say. That's his role this season. Be a good penalty killer. Go out there. Be fucking invisible. the entire season. If he scores any goals, it's amazing. I give him the MVP. He just doesn't need to do all that much. He just needs to be a positive player out there and not be a liability. He's too good to be a liability, so he's in good shape. But yeah, he's on a line with 2 other guys that are really good that'll carry him. Pajot's not having the greatest season on the score sheet either. But
no.
he doesn't. Wahlstrom's kind of doing it. They need
Yeah.
to be, again, they need to be a net positive out there. Control the puck. Don't work your defense too hard. Get the puck out of your zone. That's it. Pajot's going to win the faceoffs. Wahlstrom can score the goals. Parise just needs to be support. That's it.
Couldn't agree more. Did you find that tweet you were looking for?
I didn't. It was something to the effect, and there was an Islander fan. Oh, there it is. So it was right after the Adam Fox contract was announced, and our buddy Nick Alberga said starting next season the Rangers will have just a shade over $44 million locked up in 5 players: Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Trouba, Fox. He also said, for comparison's sake, the Leafs will have approximately 47.9 locked up, 5 players. The same amount of players in Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Nylander, and Riley. And Joe Colombo, who I do not know if he listens to this show, but he tweeted Lee, Barzal, Nelson, Palmieri, Pajot, Bailey, Pelech, Pulak, Wahlstrom, 47.69.
Yep.
That's good. You can be upset that there's not a lot of cap room, and even though the Islanders are going to get some relief next summer in one shape or form, even with some bonuses kind of and overages, and even Boychuk coming off LTIR, and not this one less thing to worry about as far as the management over the summer. That's good.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And there's some big name free agents that are ready to hit the market. So say they don't sign those extensions, namely Johnny Gaudreau, Philip Forsberg, who was all over the ice for the Predators the other day. But the cap relief is going to be necessary, and maybe they can add to an already pretty good team that they have out on the ice right now. Like a Parise doesn't come back or whoever it might be. But there's a lot to look forward to for the Islanders next summer with all that cap room. But
I'll say just before we kind of move on altogether into the little quote book section here, I think in the beginning of the season, I think I wrote an article for the Hockey Writers. I think we talked about it on the show as far as the Islanders offense and who really needs to get going early that can make a really big difference. Anthony Beauvillier, 4 points in 7 games, 3 goals. I don't know that it's even as consistent as he would want yet, which is really good, and probably a good segue into the next segment here. But it's really good to see that he's kind of finding his way here, even if he has another gear. He was I think he was my most important player that needed to kind of step up this season and kind of prove himself again. I would say reprove to prove himself again. So I want to make sure we pointed that out.
Yeah, no, it's well said, because again, he's one of those guys. He's a top 6 player. 18 goals, 30 points doesn't scream top 6, and that's pretty much where he's been sitting majority of his career, give or take. If he could take that next step, be a 50-point, 60-point guy, score 25, 30 goals, now you're in business. And that 3 point something million cap hit in a couple of years will have to go up, but deservedly so. If he can prove to be one of those elite driving forces on the Islanders on offense, then now you're talking. You have a lot of weapons with Beauvillier, Nelson, who hasn't even really gotten going yet. It wasn't so much Brocktober this year. Wahlstrom's scoring. Bailey's putting points up.
November.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Or you got Brockvember, whatever we're calling it.
Are you good?
Yeah, it was just the 2. I did think about that today before the show, but
Brockvember,
not long enough. I don't know. I just had the 2.
You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 6 players right now shooting above 12%, which is pretty good.
It might mean that they're not shooting enough, which is not unusual for
Right.
this team. But
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, Clutterbuck's got 2 goals. Um, Palmieri and Nelson, if they get going,
Look out.
you're in business. Lee is a little slow to start.
Look out.
Yeah, I
Look
think it's
out.
fine.
Yeah, they're going to be okay, man. Especially because especially because, again, we haven't played at home yet. It's been 7 games, not one at home, and once they get there, listen, things are going to change having to play on home ice. We said at the beginning of the show, the top of the show that maybe we overstated how detrimental the 13 game road trip would be, but playing on home ice is different than playing on away ice, obviously. I mean, not that they're not gonna know the UBS arena as much yet, but playing in front of their fans at least is gonna give them that much more of an advantage. So, um, it's been a decent start thus far. Um, the little bit of juggling with the lines that Trotz has had to do has worked. And as of right now, the lines are clicking, even with changes. But with that, there was a comment from Trotz the other day, and he did say that the team he admitted this. This is something that he said, not read between the lines. Trotz admitted that the Islanders are lacking that killer instinct that they used to have. Quote, there's things in our game where we need to push an opponent out with those opportunities that we get. We did a lot of that today in Nashville. And I thought that was well said, right? They did do a lot of things right against the Predators. They largely controlled that game. They should have gotten 2 points. They only got the 1. John, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that wasn't the quote that I was thinking about, the killer instinct. But yeah, I mean, I think they just need to find that energy level, and maybe that is because the travel and not playing consistently and really getting a groove. Um, so maybe just like the lack of consistency in gameplay is what their problem is. But they showed it a little bit in Nashville. Like I said, they were kind of slowly getting up to speed here, but they're not showing. This is a team that is built on energy in their game and moving their feet, and they're not doing it for a full 60 minutes. They should have been able to lock that game down. This is too good of a team with too good of recent playoff experience against the league's best to lose in a shootout to Nashville.
Right.
Is Saros really good? Absolutely. I think he may even Sorokin saved the Islanders' butts, but Saros did that for Nashville in that game too.
He's equal to the task.
That's a good way to put it. So I think the Islanders were just kind of the door was slammed shut. I saw Palmieri had a couple good opportunities in tight. Frankly, I'm not upset about losing Eberle. I think Palmieri is just as good. I think I've said that, but in tight, it's hard to beat Eberle. He would have, I think, on one of the opportunities I'm thinking of, I think he would have been able to find the back of the net in tight on the backhand. That was his little specialty, but everyone has their own little thing. From far out, from quite a ways out. That was quite the backhand. So I think in that particular instance, I was like, man, if that was Eberle, I think he would have done it. But at least Palmier's getting his opportunities. But they need to. I'm not looking for them to score a goal, but they were up 2-1, less than 10 minutes left, less than 8 minutes left in that Nashville game. Like, this team could lock it down. There's no reason, and that was really, frankly, the tying goal was kind of a shitty goal from the goal line, or at least
it was deflection.
Like, it wasn't.
It went off Bullock.
Yeah, it was some. I don't know. I don't even see who it went off of in front. It could have been. I think it was actually the guy. He was the second goal of the game.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name because I had never heard it before. Or his number. Maybe it was 84 or 74 or something, wherever it was for Nashville. Yeah, so like, is that would we be saying, would we be questioning their killer instinct to be able to lock it down if it wasn't some lucky goal off some guy's skate that we've never heard of? Yeah, maybe, but
Right.
it's still like trying to find the ways to get those guys out of the front of the net, um, and make sure that they clear the way in front of Sorokin. They still need to do that. That's
Right.
a playoff kind of goal, right? Like some BS shot to the net. That's you have to find ways to kind of come back and score, or 3-on-3 in overtime. They've been not good this season.
Yeah.
And that's go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you because that was a quote from Trotz after the game. We did a lot of good things today, and although I do agree with what he said about how they played a good game. It's also true, like we love to say on this show, two things can be true. They did lack that killer instinct. They had the lead. They surrendered it. They got the lead again. Now it's time to, pad that lead. Have that killer instinct. Get another one. Force the issue. Again, like you said, Saros was really good, but they could have probably done a little more to force the issue and have control the puck a little more. I think towards that 8-minute mark with 8 minutes left in the third period, like you mentioned, the Predators kind of took control. They were desperate. They were trying to tie the game, but the Islanders need that instinct to push back and say, no, we're winning this game. We're going to continue to hold this lead and then some. So,
Or at least control the play.
Yeah,
largely, right? Like
you saw them starting to crumble.
Yeah, and that's when it's like, again, it was kind of like that line goal against Columbus, where you're like, I see it developing here.
Yeah.
That's not looking good.
I think there was
like that
was
second chance he scores. Like,
was it the Barzell line that got stuck out there for like almost 2 minutes, maybe a little more, in their own zone?
Against Line?
No, in the last game.
Oh, I don't even remember. They had a 2-on run in overtime. Nelson got in tight and couldn't finish. But
in fact,
3-on-3
that's what it
has been a
was.
problem.
That's what it was. It was the tying goal. The Islanders were stuck in their own zone.
The tying goal. I was talking about overtime.
The Barzell. No, not in overtime. The tying goal. Barzell's line was out for like over a minute and a half, so they were tired. Chara loses his stick. Lee hands it over to him, and you just saw it all happening. You're like, they're going to score right now, and sure enough, they did.
Yeah.
So that's part of the killer instinct that Trotz is talking about. Like quick shifts, stay fresh, push the pace, control the puck, control the play, make them catch up to you. You don't catch up to them, and they lacked that towards the end of the game. I think for most of the game they had it, but they didn't have the instinct to finish the game and close the door. So
yeah, they need to figure that out.
Hey everybody, we just want to talk to you real quick about our sponsors over at DraftKings. NFL fans, are you hungry for the big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So here's what you do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers apply. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Additional support for this podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Guess what, fellas? The boys are buzzing because hockey is back. Want to know what else is buzzing? The Lawnmower 4.0 from our friends at Manscaped. They are the global leaders in male grooming, trusted by over 2 million men worldwide.
Don't get chirped this year for having a Jumbo Joe bush below the waist. Join the Manscaped movement for all your hairiest grooming needs. Get 20% off and free shipping with code NHP20 at manscaped.com. Personally, I'm in love with the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. Included is the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, formulations, and 2 free gifts. This package is the perfect package to help you put the D back in your defense. The opening face-off in the Battle of the Bush is the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer versus your pubes. This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. Not only that, but the Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch which can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn on the 400K LED spotlight when needed for a more precise shave. Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? So don't take a penalty below the waist. Playoff beards are meant for your face, not your pants. Get 20% off and free shipping with code NHP20 at manscaped.com. Don't be a goon and fight your bush with the other guys. Choose Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code NHP20 at manscaped.com. That's right, 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using promo code NHP20. Don't get denied pipe this season and shave your pants pucks with the right tools for the job.
With that mention of Big Z,
Well,
Chara still.
Before we get there,
Oh, sure.
I know where you're going. Just the overtime thing. There was another
Okay.
quote about missing Taves and Letty. I forget who asked this question.
Yes.
I saw it come through. And I should have put it in here. I'm kind of remembering in real time. I don't think we felt it Taves' departure last year because Letty was still around and there was still that balance
I
on
agree.
the back end. Now
Good way to
you
put it.
really lack that balance. Dobson is not there yet to really control play in overtime. I'm not sure Trotz trusts him to be out there with 2 forwards or whatever the deal is. So I don't know how much ice time he's getting and kind of in overtime there. But that's an area where the Islanders, I think, are missing that on the back end.
Yeah.
And that's our segue into Chara and the defense.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I was actually on another show earlier today talking about the defense, and I had said that just don't.
Whoa, wait, what?
I was
What show?
Our friends over at Habs Unfiltered asked me to come on and talk about the upcoming game against Montreal, which will also be out tomorrow, so you can hear me twice if you'd like. Us first, obviously. And I had said, I think what's going on the blue line is that everyone's kind of just trying to feel out who's going to be the puck mover after Taves left and after Letty left. And now I think the goal was for it to be Dobson, and that would have been great. But, when you think about it, the guy still is young and he doesn't have a full season of hockey under his belt yet. He's still learning. He had a 36-game season and then a abbreviated season last year where he missed time because of COVID and what have you. So,
He's played 87 games in his career.
Correct. So he's got one.
He just hit
total
one total season in 3 years.
Right.
Just hit it.
Right. So I think what's going on with the Islanders is that they're just missing that puck mover. And a lot of people say, oh, Chara was brought in to replace Letty, and that's not necessarily true. Chara was brought in, but not to replace Letty, to be a factor on the blue line. Trotz
It's not
did
1
say
for 1. Not even close.
It's not 1 for 1. And I think the idea was that it would be Dobson, but he's not quite there yet. Trotz the other day said that there's an adjustment period. This was after the Nashville game. There's an adjustment period. Analytically, you look at some stuff, and he got off to not a great start, but you look at his number of games, he's looked pretty good. What we're looking for in Z is if you can defend in your own zone and can you kill penalties. He can. I'm not looking for offense. That pretty much tells you what you need to know about how they feel about Chara. He's going to play, and he's not being relied on for offense, which I didn't think we were looking for that from him. Did you?
Penalty killing?
Yeah. Who's going to
I
do
mean,
it?
yes, I knew.
He's
I
in the
knew
top
that.
4.
Yeah,
know?
I'm not sure what I really expected other than like, he's a big body out there.
Right.
Can he mentor Dobson? Can that be really good? His numbers aren't great.
No, they're not.
Carey at Habermetrics, what that does. He used to do stuff at Lighthouse. I'm not sure what his deal is these days, but still offering some pretty good insight. He kind of had a harsh opinion about Chara, saying we're at the point where I'm not even sure you can justify Chara for another 5 games. It's really bad. He's making Andy Green look like Bobby Orr. I didn't want to go that far, but I think his point's well taken that he had the worst game score.
Yeah.
Which attributes it kind of takes into account a bunch of different factors and analytics throughout a game. He had the worst game score in the game against Nashville by quite a margin. I mean, Lee wasn't very good either. Andy Green, Bailey, despite the power play goal. So it's, I mean, there were no Islanders in the top 5, which is a different problem. But somebody had asked a question, I think, in that thread: is Chara's season average the lowest in the league? And he's the 3rd worst in the league as of 10:30.
Yeah.
So I that's look. Trotz can say the analytics and he needs more time and whatever, but it's gonna catch up eventually.
Yeah. I've been more generous with my leash on Chara than most. I really want the Islanders to get on home ice before making any rash decisions. However, you're right. It could catch up to them quickly. Those couple of points that they might have missed out on earlier could end up biting them in the ass at the end of the season. So it's tough. It's not easy to talk about, Zdeno Chara right now without kind of just saying, like, when is Sebastian Aho going to get a shot? Not really sure what the issue there is either.
And I think that's the maddening part, right? Like, it's not even like we saw in the back-to-back games or whatever the case is. Like, again, this weekend's another opportunity to just not play Chara. They're playing Montreal, who's playing like horse shit. Sent down Cole Caulfield a day or 2 ago.
Yep.
Maybe 3, depending on when you're listening to this. I can't remember exactly when it was. They don't have Price, who I hope is doing well.
Yeah, he'll be back over the weekend.
Price?
Yes, Saturday.
Oh, okay. Well, that's amazing to hear.
Yeah, it's really good to know.
They don't have a Weber, but be that as it may, that's what the Islanders are playing Thursday, right? I'm not making that up.
Correct.
Okay. Whew, that would be embarrassing. But I knew I saw him on the schedule soon. So so Price isn't playing Thursday. They don't have Weber. They don't have Caulfield. They're 2-8 or 1 and ridiculous,
2-8,
terrible. Yeah. Put him in. Put Aho in. I know Char doesn't need the break after 5 days, but like, get him in there against the team. Get him reps. See how it is. See how it works. Mess with the D pairs a little bit, and then put him, if he's playing well, put him in one of the games of the weekend too.
Yep.
Like, we haven't even seen him enough at the NHL level, unless you're a reporter seeing him in practice all the time, to be able to tell what his weaknesses are. Like, you see him in games, it's like, all right, he hasn't played at the NHL level or professional games in a long time on a regular basis. Yeah. Like, how much fault can you give the guy without, again, getting into that rhythm? You're throwing in a guy like, we say the same thing about Ross Johnson. The guy played like 13 games a season.
Right.
How good do you think he's going to be?
No, I agree with you.
He's not Gretzky to begin with. You can't just throw him out there and expect him to just light it up.
Yeah.
That game speed and that consistency is really important. So Aho, if they're not going to utilize him as an asset soon, I don't know what you're doing with him. And if you're going to bring in a guy, like the rumors kind of going around about Hampus Lindholm, then what?
Right, and the thing with the Hampus Lindholm, right, is none of the Islander fans are talking about acquiring a Hampus Lindholm because the Islander fans are talking about bringing up a Robin Salo, and the only people talking about Robin Salo are Islander fans because nobody else knows who he is. So it's funny because it's everyone outside of Islander land is saying, "Hey, the Islanders should trade for a guy like Hampus Lindholm," and everybody in the Islander land is like, "Hey, everybody, we should bring up Robin Salo." It's a funny dynamic that's going on as far as the solutions to this problem.
It's only funny because no one knows the Islanders better than Islander fans, right?
Yeah,
However, they're like missing the important thing. Like they're not playing Aho,
right.
who's already on the roster and is a young player. 0% chance this team, Trotz and Lou, are bringing up Salo to play. It's
I
not
agree.
happening. So sure, Islander
Yep.
fans know the team best, but as far as like the roster moves, like things like that, that's where the media comes in. That's a guy like who wrote the Hockey News article that was that mentioned Lindholm. Although I think
Yeah.
I did over the summer, along with Gustafson. I think Lindholm was in one of my articles. That's why they're looking outside of the organization because they know the team likes veterans.
Right. No, this was Lyle Richardson of the Hockey News.
Hockey News. Yeah. So yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. I understand it's funny the disconnect, but it's for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Other fans aren't looking at. They're not desperate. They need to win, and what they think. I wouldn't mind. I see teams like Colorado and all these teams bring up these young defenders, Adam Fox, and they play really well. I'm not saying Salo is Adam Fox, but you find a role for these players and you make it work. A lot of teams find a way to do it. So it's not. I know it's not impossible. This team's strategy, however, and management, the people, regardless of whatever we think or whatever Islander fans think, isn't that. They are going to look for veterans.
Right.
They could have easily filled this lineup with some younger players on the third line next to Pajot. You didn't need a Parise. You didn't need him. You could have filled it with somebody else. You didn't need to spend that money. You're already spending it. You didn't need a Chara necessarily. You could have filled it internally or just with Aho. Forget about Salo for a second. If you're going to let a player fail and learn his way, why is it a 44-year-old guy? Why isn't it Aho? If you're like letting the mistakes pile up and if you can sit there and be like, there's an adjustment period. What? How do you sit there and say that and then let this other guy rot on the bench? Why do you not have that same leeway with younger players?
That's
the same thing
point.
last season. Zajac didn't do. I mean, he was okay during the run, but like Wahlstrom was fine.
Agreed.
He was there, and he played really good in that first round. What the hell? Zajac didn't do anything special. If you're looking for a guy that is a net zero out there and to not be a liability defensively, like put the guy out there. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. But we're not behind the bench and we're not calling the shots. We're just on a podcast talking about what should happen, not what's going to happen. All right, let's talk about some prospects that we had some news about this past couple days. Aturatu, Eetu Lucas, and Matthias Rajaniemi were named to Finland's under-20 roster in the Four Nations tournament coming up in Sweden. That's good to see. You know, some Islander prospects going to play for their national teams. That means that they're some of the best for the age group, at least. But you know, Ratu continues to get a lot of positive attention. And this kid Liukas is actually doing pretty well. I think he's scoring at a pretty good pace. I think he's playing in the Liga, if I'm not mistaken. And Rajaniemi continues to play for Team Finland. I know he was there last year as well, so that's good for him.
Did
William
Ratu move
DeFore.
teams?
Oh, yes, that's right. Also, Aturatu got traded from, he was with Karpat, and then he got moved over to, John's looking it up now, and he's going to tell me it's Junkerit, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, I think the idea there was to just get Ratu more playing time, and that's just exactly what he needs. So, You hope to see him on the ice more often over there. I believe he had an interview already stating how he was excited for the opportunity and everything. Of course, those are things you're going to hear. But yeah, look for Ratu to get more time overseas with Ukraine. William Dufour just ended a 9-game point streak. Total on the season, 18 points, 10 games. 10 goals and 8 assists in 12 games. That's pretty good. He's looking more and more ready for the next step as the days go on. He was on a torrid pace last year, and he's picked right back up for where he left off.
No, it's great. All the prospects, and I don't keep as close of a look. I try to follow what you put up there, what Mitch puts up with Eyes on Isles and stuff like that. Sounds like there's a lot of prospects that could have an impact on this team in the not so distant future.
Yeah,
not like this season, I mean, but like in the next few seasons, we may just see some of these players like at least come to North America, get on North American ice, play in the A, whatever the deal is. Like, I think it's closer than we think.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting how it works out, right? Because, they don't have a ton of guys who are slam dunk A+ prospects, but, guys like Ratu, William Dufour, oh God, who's doing well? Oh, Anatoly Golishev even is playing well in Bridgeport. Those are all guys who can fill out roles necessary for the future. And the current guys on the roster, like Barzell, Wahlstrom, Beauvillier, they're all in their mid to low 20s. So you're not really looking at like a bunch of roster overturn where it's going to be like, okay, the team is old. Like, I understand that there's this stigma around the Islanders where it's like, oh, oldest team in the league. Take Chara out of the equation, take Green out of the equation. You're already much younger. And then you're going to add on these younger guys. It's just not going to be an issue, and it's actually going to work out. It should work out in their favor when guys like Ratu are ready, and Golishev. Although Golishev's a little bit older, but the point remains that these younger guys are going to fill roles while their top guys right now are still pretty young. So things are working out as far as the development process goes.
Yeah, even some of the older players are on some kind of long-term deals. You can see some players kind of filter lower into the lineup.
Yeah,
over time. Like I think if Trotz and Lamoriello kind of give some younger players their shot, more than one a season anyway, I think that could be really good. And there really aren't any new younger Islanders this season. Last season was Wahlstrom kind of getting a shot. You can kind of count Bellows, but I'm not really sure what his deal is as far as how the team sees his future with them. So, and just I found my piece on kind of the Islanders defense prior to them signing Chara, and I do mention Lindholm there. I think part of the problem would be Lindholm's contract is over $5 million. It's an expiring deal.
Yeah.
But that's, you can kind of play some games, but it's something to kind of figure out for Lamoriello. Not that he's incapable of doing it, but that's no finding room for a $5 million contract's no easy task. And despite Anaheim not being absolute garbage this season, so far 9 points in 10 games isn't, they're under 500 or under NHL. They're even below NHL 500. Maybe they're not so quick to trade this guy, and they're going to wait until the trade deadline anyway to see if they're in it to get more assets for him. So I don't think that's even a right now thing. If it is something the Islanders want to do, it's certainly not a right now thing. So I mean, still don't get why Aho isn't getting a chance, but maybe that's this weekend. We've been right before, we've been wrong more. But
maybe that's our slogan. We've been right before, we've been wrong more. I like that. Let's print the t-shirts.
Let's make the t-shirts. Where's what's Devin over there? Let's have him fire it up.
Good.
But yeah, so we can make a bold prediction here. Maybe Aho finally gets in a game, one of these 3 games this weekend.
And your point about Lindholm, we at the fourth period did report that the Islanders will be looking to make a move, but it won't be until closer to the trade deadline. So
Unless something atrocious happens. I'm not even talking about
Sure.
an injury.
yeah,
Just
that's
like
probably
they the wheels just fall off for a period. That's just a problem. But
yeah. All right. So good news. The Islanders took part in a call with the NHLPA after practice on Monday to seek some answers out of the situation going on regarding the Chicago Blackhawks. And Gary Bettman doesn't look so hot right now, as not that he ever is on the not, or I should say, not that he's never not on the hot seat. Right? He's always. It seems like he's always on the hot seat. But yeah, it was good to see
doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
he looks like shit. Batman looks like shit in all of this.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer, and he's answering questions like he knows he's a material witness. And not answering questions, or it's inappropriate to comment, or that that's that he knows it, or he's being instructed to kind of tread lightly.
Yeah.
Donald Fear, who is the head of the NHLPA, also does not look great in all of this, saying that he did not remember a conversation or a mention of this conversation that Kyle Beach had with him, who since the last show is the player that was named. If you didn't already know that, go watch the interview with Rick Westhead.
Yeah.
Rick Westhead was he was on everything this last week, but he was also had a full episode with Steve Dangle, if you want to dive into that and some of the specifics as the story evolves. Some of it may be outdated, or at least have further evolved by now, but they did a really good job with him kind of interviewing. But yeah, good for the Islanders to kind of do that. I didn't expect anybody from a team run by Lou Lamoriello, which in this particular case I don't like, that they're tight-lipped, that they didn't kind of let out what that conversation was or something like that.
Yeah, but they did say that Scott Mayfield was at the head of the conversation on behalf of the Islanders.
That's good.
Yeah.
You want to see them challenge it. There's been rumors, I think, for a while that Donald Fear will be out as head of the PA. They're not really doing a whole lot. Again, he's kind of forgotten that he had that conversation, or that he heard of it, or whatever. Which in this particular case, I don't know how you forget something like this. But yeah, I'm still at a loss, honestly, with this whole situation. How are you feeling about it? Like, just from
Not
reading?
good. Not good. The situation, I don't believe, was handled well enough. Obviously, but I'm just not even still over the initial reaction I had from watching Kyle come out about what he went through. And
I couldn't watch it in one sitting.
Yeah, I had that's probably the best way to put it. I had to pause it and come back to it and listen to it again. And the genuine pain and hurt in his voice, and you could see the trauma he'd been through. It was hard to digest. Very hard to digest. I'm not normally as outspoken as I was on things like this, but it was too painful not to talk about and bring awareness to.
How did you feel about the Quenneville resignation, and then just prior to that he coached the game? That
I couldn't believe he coached the game, a game that night. And Bettman came out and said, I couldn't not let him coach because I didn't have all the facts. I didn't think I didn't want him to think I was accusing him of something without having it all. And
I don't know what he didn't have.
Right, exactly. I didn't know what he didn't have. And the next day, the fact that Bowman and Quenneville and these guys were all quote unquote stepped aside and didn't get let go of. It's just a problem. It's a problem.
Well, I think some of it may just be like they left just so that they didn't have to get paid by the team.
Right,
so that might have just been like the agreement. Yeah, but there's no punishment. I couldn't agree more. I don't expect any of them to be involved in hockey anytime soon. Well, how do you feel about Shoveldayoff, who seems to have sidestepped all of this?
He did. I just saw the comments. It's happening as we're recording. Haven't had a chance to digest those comments yet because I think they just came out. So we'll have to read those and come back to you with that on another time. I don't really know what his involvement was yet. I haven't looked. I've only been able to look at it into it one person at a time, and there's so many people involved in this that it's like, where does it end? You know,
He
'cause you
was. My understanding is that he was there. He was named in the room on the May 23rd meeting. My understanding, but as the assistant general manager, apparently is immune to some of this, which I don't know how you don't follow up. The guy was there for your Stanley Cup celebration. At least,
yeah. I mean,
at
at
least
most,
at that point, question something, ask somebody, call the PA, like do literally anything. And that's where I don't understand, and that's where the accountability for me, it's just like I don't get it.
I
I don't
think he said
understand.
something to the effect of, "I heard about the situation and then was made aware later that it was handled."
No, so it was a oh man, you should actually read it because it is absolute word salad. He's like, I didn't find out until I found out. And it's like, what?
Obviously, okay.
Like it was something to that effect where like Dangle said he used the truth to tell a lie. And again, he just because of his position, it seems like he's kind of just skirted around this somehow.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
yeah. That doesn't sound great to me. Definitely
No,
doesn't sound great to me. But listen, I hope that things and you know, we saw this with Robin Leonard about the drug problem. I hope that things start to change immediately for the better. Um, you know, hasn't happened often in this league, if ever. So we'll see. But a lot of things need to be figured out with this situation, and it was good to see the Islanders and Mayfield, you know, be at the head of it. Especially, you know, Lee's comments too, right from the get go. He had some good things to say about how it should have been handled and how he was sorry and hopes that they could, you know, as a league, get this straightened out. I think Brandon Carlo with the Bruins made it a point to say we should watch Kyle Beach's statement together as a team and you know, really look at what's going on here in the face and you know, learn from it and be sure to have each other's backs and moving forward, make sure to teach those coming into the league that this is not okay and you know, just all around, just be better.
Yeah, it really is a hockey culture thing, kind of at all levels, beyond the NHL, just in the sport. Because I still play beer league. I hear some, and I talked to somebody the other day about using slurs and this and that, and they've acknowledged like, oh, I might get kicked out if they hear me from the rink. And I'm like, maybe just like don't say that. He's like, I know I can get kicked out. I'm like, don't say it ever. Don't think of like I think that's kind of the problem, right?
Right.
Like it so much of this stuff from sexual assault cover-ups to slurs and not being inclusive is just pervasive throughout the game. And it continues to be a stain on this game. We've all seemed to have forgotten very quickly about the Carolina Hurricanes kind of signing this player that is a jerk. That is, you know, and that might be most of the league, but he's been outspoken about it. You know, and then you get Duncan Keith after all this saying, "Oh, I really wish, I regret not being part of that investigation." It's like, dude, the only person that's stopping that from happening is you. Call them up and be part of it. What are you, an idiot? This is again the same, you know, guy that didn't want to get the vaccine and this. Stop it. Stop it. You're saying, "Oh, I regret it now that people called me out on my shit." That's what
Right.
he's saying, and that's hockey culture.
Right.
Oh, I regret it. You knew that was dumb. You knew it was dumb. Don't do it. Don't have the thought. That's the problem. We're continuing to have these really terrible thoughts. I don't. That's gonna take some time, to change in the culture because I don't know how you stand up to things when it can ruin your career, and then it takes 10 years for this to happen after the terrible thing happened. I think people were bringing up the Akeem Aliu
Yeah.
investigation. The league's like,
It's
oh,
still
it's
ongoing.
done. The league was Gary Bettman or somebody was like, oh, it's done, and Aliu's representative said, agent was
No,
like,
it's not.
no,
This is
that's
false.
that news to us. Would love to know what the
Right.
result was. So it's it's definitely a boys' club. You got to remember Aldridge's dad may even still be part of the San Jose Sharks on the equipment side of things. I don't know. I don't understand how that continues to happen.
Yeah. It's not over yet. There's still a lot to be figured out with this situation and with hockey culture as a whole. So let's hope by next week we have some good news to talk about regarding the situation. It's a tough one. It is. And if you haven't watched the Kyle Beach interview yet, it's been just about a week. We urge you to watch it and learn from it. It was eye opening.
Yeah,
sure.
take some time with it for
Yeah.
sure. And just really quickly to wrap this up, not enough is being made of Taves and Kane and some of the kind of players in the NHL that are still playing and how they defended Bowman and called him a good guy. How I think other people out around the NHL had kind of said that too. I think even Quenneville had said that or something. Someone was like, I have an existing, still an ongoing or maybe that was Shovel Day Off. I don't remember. People found time to defend this guy. Which is bad enough on its own, but the fact that they held some level of responsibility too in this and allowed the stuff to kind of go on in the locker room is awful.
Right.
I'm not entirely sure how they're just being left off the hook, and the league isn't. If Quenneville can be, if Quenneville can be put on the hook here as the coach, I don't know how players who certainly knew are just kind of left in the open. There's the marketing department knew about this.
Right.
He was let go from the team and then was back for the cup and then was handed a ring. Like I think the same scrutiny should be continued to put on Captain Sirius there, Jonathan Taves. Excuse me, and Patrick Kane, who's no saint. So I think that pressure should remain on them to kind of figure it out because that's really disappointing coming from leaders in the NHL. Olympic players on video game covers on their names on the Stanley Cup. Just complete nonsense. I've lost all respect for them.
Don't disagree. And well said. And we leave you with a bit of good news. If you haven't seen already, Brendan Burke won the New York Sports Emmy for talent, sports play-by-play, obviously, for his work during the 2019-20 season. So congratulations to Brendan Burke on the incredible feat. Continues to stay with the Islanders via MSG Network. Also doing work with... is it TNT now?
He does TNT. He does the
TNT as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I love. Did you see the tweet from his wife that he's like, the best call that I get is when he tells me that he's bringing home Taco Bell.
Bringing home Taco Bell. Yeah. It was Isles MSG asked Twitter, what's your favorite Brendan Burke call? And she quote tweeted it and said, my favorite is when he calls and says he's bringing home Taco Bell. That was that was gold. That. Thank you. Good on you, Mrs. Burke, for the light humor that we all need every once in a while.
Definitely, yeah.
I think that wraps it up for us this week. We always say maybe we don't have too much to talk about, but we always seem to hit that hour mark and then some, huh?
Yeah. Well, we dive into things, and
Yeah.
we don't always have a lot of notes, but some of it's kind of deep. Helps when there's only one game to keep it somewhat short. We had a long one last time. if I'm
Yeah, we
remembering
did. It was
correctly. We went
almost
into
2
around the
hours,
rink,
actually.
and we don't really have. I mean, I think we're just tired as people, so we didn't have an around the rink section this time around. But I think I'm done. I can be done.
All right. We want to say thank you to DraftKings and Manscaped. Use that THPN promo code with DraftKings and NHP20 promo code with Manscaped. Want to say thank you to the Hockey Podcast Network and IslesFix, and of course, all of you, our listeners. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Nassman Hockey. You can also join our Discord for a safe space to chat with fellow Islander fans. Lastly, you can find my work at the Fourth Period and John's work at the Hockey Writers, as well as IslesFix combined. And until next time, everybody, let's go Islanders.